When was your first D&D game? Do you even remember it? I remember mine. I was like 16 or 17 when I went to my local tabletop war game store at the mall, and one of the employees was setting up for a D&D game. At the time, I heard about D&D, but I really knew nothing about it. They were looking for another player and asked if I wanted to join. I told them that I didn't know what the game was about, or really how to play it, and he explained it all like, well, did you ever play a video game like KOTOR or Dragon Age? It's kind of like that where you get to make choices, but you're not limited to what the game gives you. And I replied with, wait, that's a thing? I've always wanted a game like that. And then I started my D&D life. 3.5 was the version I started with, and I started as the most basic of choices, a human fighter. The party at the time was captured and tied up without their weapons in the back of like a bar, so to make things easier, they just put me in with the group. In the first combat we had that session, we again didn't have any weapons, and one of the enemy NPCs was a wizard. The DM started it by saying that the wizard jumped up on the table and was getting ready to conjure up some magic to throw at us, and then it was my turn. I immediately ran up to the guy and tackled him off the table. I rolled really good up into the tackle, and then I tried to keep punching him. Didn't really do a whole lot, but it was at least stopping him from using magic. Nowadays, sadly, I'm more of a forever DM. I haven't been a player in like 5 or 6 years. But what if I told you back in 1979, someone actually used D&D to make a video game out of it? I want to tell you guys of a story of a young man named Richard Garriott, who, after graduating from high school, dabbled a bit into game making, with nothing more than an Apple II computer and his Dungeons & Dragons game he and his friends did to help. In fact, this game was actually called D&D while it was being developed, and his friends also helped playtest this game. He sold the game for the Apple II for about $20 in Ziploc bags, with photocopied instructions and with cover art drawn by his mother. It wasn't until the California Pacific Computer Company got a hold of a copy of the game, who then quickly saw potential in this and called up Garriott to offer to publish the game. Agreeing and taking $5 for each game sold, the game was then priced at $35 and sold 30,000 copies, giving, according to Garriott, about $150,000, which, according to the handy-dandy inflation calculator, is roughly about $500,000. $539,146.24 to be precise. Which is honestly really crazy to think such a small game like that could make that much money. He didn't even think that a lot of people would have even seen this game. But thanks to the California Pacific, he started Ultima, a series with a lot of praise and love, up until EA messed everything up. As EA does. They even helped publish Ultima 1, but because of creative differences, they did not renew their contract with him for Ultima 2, and shortly went bankrupt in 1981, with Garriott going to Sierra to publish the second Ultima game. But we'll talk about all that when I talk about those games, but for now, let's just jump right into Ultima 0. Okay, in all honesty though, it's called Akalabeth, World of Darkness, but it's widely regarded as the start of the Ultima games, which is why it's called Ultima 0. It's also recognized as one of the earliest known examples of role-playing games. First, we have to give it a lucky number. I don't know, 69? Level of play? Well, let's just start this off with the easiest, level 1. Shalt thou play with these qualities? Oh, yeah, I should mention that this entire game is actually in Elizabethan English. You know, ye olde English, like Shakespeare stuff. And we're given a bunch of qualities that we can just say no to and re-roll. Man, what DM will let you re-roll your stats 100 times? I just waited until I thought I got a good roll and selected the fighter because magic scares me, and now I have to buy equipment. I got an axe and a shield and the rest on food. And then the shopkeeper just ends the conversation like a pissed off SO, and here we are. Man, this is lacking something. Like sound, visuals, anything. Command? Huh? Yeah, you can say that again. Yeah, the Apple II computer didn't really have a dedicated sound chip, and most of their games kind of looked like this. Just like how the 80s normally looked. Okay, so what do you do in this game? Well, that's a good question. The goal of this game is to become a knight, but I don't know where to go or what any of this means, so I'm just gonna wander a bit. I don't know, maybe there are some monsters I can fight. Well, okay, these cracks are mountains. I don't really know what these squares and X's are. Maybe they're just landscapes. And every one of these are just shops. Why do you need this many shops? What are you, Starbucks? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? And I starved. Wonderful. We mourn the passing of the peasant and his computer. Well, shit. I'm gonna have to go into the Forbidden Lands. Instruction manuals. Well, I don't have an actual copy, but luckily Good Old Games provided the manual. Yeah, GOG has this game for free, and that's how I'm playing it because, you know, I don't have an Apple II computer. So how do you play this game? Well, first let's get some backstory. The land of Akalabeth was a peaceful land until it wasn't. Mordain, I think it's Mordain, wanted to take the throne from his brother, using the power of evil to plague the land, running around and spreading his evil seed as far as he can shoot, causing the world to fall into darkness. But then, British the White drove him out of Akalabeth forever, before giving himself a promotion as Lord British. But, like most lords, he immediately became lazy and is now hiring others to fix the land for him. We also find out that the lucky number they ask for is actually the seed number for the RNG. Each number puts the building in caves in random places, so you can keep using one number so you always get the same area. Dungeons are still random though. This time I did the last 4 digits of my social and we start again. I was able to figure out, thanks to the manual, that there's a castle I should really find. But one of my biggest problems is that you have to look for it, and you don't start at the castle, so you could potentially starve before you find it. And there's no save, so you have to be very lucky, or risk restarting before your adventure begins. Welcome, peasants, into the halls of mighty Lord British. Here we give our names, and then they ask if you wish for a grand adventure. And like a child, I said no, in which they kick you out, and then you have to go back in. Leave and be gone! And then the asshole doesn't even remember you if you walk right back in. You have to give him your name again. But this time I said yes and have been tasked with killing a viper. So off I go into the caves. Just have to burn a lot of my food supply. Apparently I eat like a McDouble each step. I go down to the dungeon and immediately get attacked by a thief. Or a weird spaceship? You go into the caves and you're brought up into a first-person perspective area maze crawler. All the enemies here are 2D flat sprite that runs around until you find them. The earliest threats are thieves and rats. Thieves, while not being the worst enemy in the game, but is probably second because this guy steals your weapons. There isn't even anything you can do about it. You don't get them back after beating him. He just went and took my axe right out of my hand, so I had to resort to my fists and beat him to death. And yeah, this is the game. You gotta go around to ever-changing maze to find ladders to bring you down a level. I don't know how many levels there are exactly. I suspect it's like almost infinite, but you only need to go down to about 9 or 10. And also, because this game was on Apple II, which didn't have a mouse for some reason, you have to solely use the keyboard. You have to select the A to attack and then press A again for the axe. Yeah, the first letter of the weapon being the key you need to hit, and then you can swing the axe or throw it. You can also use a rapier and a bow and arrow, but I didn't really get to use them, and only the fighter can really use them. I quickly realized that the only viable option was to be a mage. There aren't any potions in this game, and if you're not prepared, and let's face it, you're not going to be prepared, you're going to end up getting bitten in the back of the leg by a snake and die alone in a dungeon. And then you have to start all over. Now with my lucky number being Jenny's number, I became a mage, only buying the magic amulet and the rest on food. The magic amulet is unique to just the mage, because if the fighter uses it, it's completely random on the results you get. The mage can control what he uses the amulet for, either a ladder going up or down, which is absolutely needed, kill, which is basically a fireball which has a range attack but isn't needed with this pro gamer move. The bad choice gives you a random result out of 3 options. It can backfire and take half of your health, it can turn you into a toad, which brings all your stats to 3 and basically kills you, or turns you into a lizard man, increasing them by a huge amount. You can even get lizard man multiple times and increase your skills up by a huge margin each time. Although if you get toad, you lose all of that progress. Yeah, I looked online and people said the best thing to do is to save before you go into the dungeon and... Save? There's no saving in this game. Yeah, saving is a thing. Doesn't say it anywhere in the manual. And that's because the Apple II version does not have a save feature. That was put in when they re-released the game in the Ultima collection in 1998, where they remade the game for DOS. Now, why didn't God just make that the default version to play? I have no idea. You have to go through some options and download it separately, and then go to the main file to load it up. But hey, at least it's in color, and there's actually music. This time I did the same thing, mage amulet and food, my lucky number being the number of the beast. And now you can save and do this move. Unfortunately, it ultimately breaks the game in half like you're Brock Lesnar and the game is a jobber. For some reason, the game reads your stats and not how many monsters you've actually killed. So if you turn into a lizard man like at least once, Lord British will automatically send you out to kill what is essentially the final boss of the game. A Balrog. My lord, I am on a quest to become a great knight in this land. Please, tell me, what beasts must I slay to become part of the round table? Huh? Oh, go kill a Balrog. Are you serious? A Balrog? You mean the Maiar, who the most powerful beings were corrupted by the most evil being to serve him? The same kind of creatures that took Gandalf the motherfucking wizard 2 days to kill? Those Balrogs? Yep. Is that what it takes to be a knight around here? Well, to be honest, we haven't really thought of it. It's more of a beta test of sorts. A Balrog is the beta test for you guys? Well, if you don't like it, you can just leave. Oh no, you crazy? Traffic is murder right now. But yeah, a Balrog. The same dude that just took out Gandalf. Oh, shit. Now, you could do it the long way and actually fight your way to the Balrog, and I'm sure a lot of people do that, and it could be fun, but I don't want to do that. This game is not that fun. There's little to no role-playing involved, no NPCs to interact with, and the only bit of combat you do is in the dungeon, where you have to fight basically the same thing, except for thieves, which again steal your items, and the gremlins. Yeah, these guys might look cute, but they're actually the most evil of creatures. You find them around the 7th floor area, and each hit they steal half of your food supply. Do you know how dangerous that is to lose half of the one thing that if it reaches 0, you automatically die? And how terrifying that is to be 7 levels down a maze area that you can so easily get lost in. If you don't make a map, which in my opinion is kind of a waste of time since the dungeon resets every playthrough, if you don't have a magic amulet to make up ladders, or worse, be the warrior and have to actually find the ladders, it's pretty much a death sentence. And again, the dungeons are the same in design theme, and the theme is boring. And yes, I know it was Richard Garriott's first game ever made, and at the age of 18, that's pretty fucking amazing, and it's the pioneer of RPG genres. And it was 1979, so it was probably fantastic back then. I can appreciate all that, and I applaud it for that, but nowadays, if I had to pay for this game, I would be pissed. Thank you, GOG, for making this free, and there's no depth to this game. I think to attempt to make this game last longer, you were supposed to play it from levels 1 to 10 because you can beat the lower levels and the game will just tell you to play it on a harder difficulty. You know, up until you beat it on level 10. And you can speedrun it in about 30 seconds. I beat it in about a minute and a half with this strategy. What is thy name, peasant? I am Thorgatitude da Thorgalti, the first of thy name, user of magic and master of gains, he who never skipped a leg day and he who benches the mountains, the one destined to take over this land as a just and yet terrifying king. May those who seek his downfall realize how fucked they truly are. British then sent me to kill the Balrog, and I beelined it down to the 9th level, finding the Balrog relaxing in his home where I straight up murdered him. Ah, Thorgatitude Death Gorgalti, thou hast accomplished thy quest. Thou hast proven thyself worthy of knighthood. Continue to play if thou wist, but thou hast accomplished the main objective of this game. Report thy amazing feat to Lord British today. And if I remember correctly, it's supposed to give you a number to call, but I guess they took that out in the re-release, and I'm pretty sure the number is no longer in service anyway. Yes, congratulations! Wait, advisor, did he not just proclaim that he was going to take over this land? So that's really it for this game. For what it is, when it first came out, I could see this being graphically fantastic and pretty fun to play, like what most reviews at the time were saying. But I wouldn't say these are one of the games you need to see before you die. This is for the Ultima hardcore fans who want to see how the series started, or people curious to see how games in 1979 ran. Or people with heavy nostalgia, I believe they would be playing this. And I don't want to seem like I'm being too negative to Richard Garriott. At the time, this was an amazing accomplishment, and he did this all by himself at the age of 18, not counting his friends who playtested it. Well, that ends another video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I do look forward to talking about the Ultima series later down the line. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It'll help me in the algorithm and get other people to watch this video. And it'll help you by getting notifications of when my new videos are released. And comment down below on your first D&D game if you'd like to share it. I would love to read about it. Until next time, you guys take care.